Oh, hello, I'm Chris Horrocks, and I used to teach home economics many years ago. This morning we're going to use vegetables and we're going to make roast sweet potato and pepper soup. I find feeding your family, and now feeding myself as I live alone, soup is an absolutely ideal way of doing it, and you can use whatever vegetables you like. If I'm using vegetables, I always wash them first. So have a colander or a container handy and peel them with a peeler that will take a very thin layer off. There's very little waste vegetable on there. You can in fact roast them with the skins on and take the skins off afterwards, but that can be a bit fiddly. And cut the little tiny bit off the end, not a lot, because it's all going to be put together in the pan and liquidised to make it smooth. So remove as little as you have to. And then cut it into slices. Now, I do think it's a good idea to use a sharp knife. I think that's a bit controversial. Some people think you shouldn't have equipment too sharp, but the sharper the knife is, the easier it goes through. Make sure your hand that's holding the vegetable is well away from the knife though. And when you get to a tricky bit, make a bridge with your hand so that you're holding the vegetable firmly so that it doesn't rock and roll on the board. So cut it in half, right through the centre, through the core and through the stem, and then do the same again. Put the flat cut surface down so that it doesn't wobble, and cut again. And then you can expose the core and you can take it out without wasting any of the fleshy part of the pepper which you want to eat. Just remove that and the pips. I'm collecting all the bits that come out of the vegetables into a little colander, and they will go on my compost heap. But if you don't have a compost heap, you'd have to put them in your food waste bin. The pips come out more easily if you just rinse it. I'm going to cook these in a fan oven at 160 degrees, and they'll take, these will take about 20 minutes to cook, 20 minutes to half an hour to cook. The hotter the oven, the quicker they cook, so if you're in a hurry you can cook them in even shorter time. But keep a close eye on them because you don't want them to get too brown. The skin of the peppers isn't quite brown enough yet to remove easily, so I'm going to leave that in for another 5 minutes. So these are nice and soft, though they're cooked. The peppers are slightly brown on top, so when they're cool enough to handle, you should be able to take the skins off quite easily. The vegetables have roasted, they're just cooling down, and while that is happening, I'm going to cut up the onion and fry it gently in the saucepan that I'm going to cook the soup in. The skin, you can detach it from the pepper and you can see it's very thin and very tough. And if you were to liquidise that, it would be a little bit like eating bits of cellophane. So I'll try and get it all off. Oh, this is a bit fiddly, but it's well worth it. So now we've taken the skins off, we can roughly cut them up into smaller pieces so that they can go in with the onion and the garlic in the pan. Oh, they are slithery. Easier said than done, I think, cutting them up. I don't want the green leaves of the herbs to be part of the soup. I'm just going to tie a bunch of herbs from the garden. This is parsley and thyme with a bit of string to keep it together. This is just like having one of those sort of tea bag bouquet garnis, but this is fresh herbs rather than dried. And that can go in the pan to add to the flavour, and it will come out at the end. And I'm going to simmer that for 5 to 10 minutes just to make all the flavours blend, because everything in it is cooked, but the boiling it together will extract some of the flavour from the herbs as well. And then we remove the bouquet garni and blend the whole thing together to make a smooth soup and season it when it's cooked. Now I'm going to try and fish out the herbs, because I don't want to blend those. And ideally you should let it cool down quite a lot before you blend it, but I'm going to do it now. Well, again, it's very tasty even without any seasoning in, but seasoning does improve it. So again, some freshly ground black pepper. Just a pinch of salt, really, it's a very small amount. Give it a good stir. Taste it again. Back to the paprika. Going to put quite a lot in. Now taste it. Yes, I think that's all right. I would never serve anything without tasting it first.